So hi, this is a bit off topic, but I thought since I'm opening up this ATEM Mini Pro, I'd take a look at it with you and let you see what is going on. So quick unboxing. Now I intend to use this mainly for mixing overhead cameras, main camera, test gear cameras and things like that. So with no more ado, let's get started. So the idea is that I wire both of my cameras into this ATEM Mini Pro. And any test gear that I happen to be using as well, and fingers crossed that will give me the ability to mix and switch between cameras relatively easily. I can do it at the moment with some difficulty in the post-processing time, but it's not the best of methods. So here we go. Anyway, so Blackmagic design, ATEM Mini Pro. And I chose the Pro so that I can actually write directly out to a USB thumb drive. It should also be able to feed directly out into a computer as well and control this from the computer. Yeah, it includes software control. This should also, if I ever want to do any live streams, enable me to do that. So let me turn this around so we're well centered in the camera. So here we go, a welcome book, software installer and DaVinci Resolve free download. So, okay, interesting. Might have a look at those when I get a chance. We've got the power adapter here, so that's nice, and that's one of the ones I quite like these. So this is one of the ones that you just clip your relevant plug to. So we've got a UK plug, this is a EU plug, this is an Australian plug I think, and this is a US plug of course. So we'll go for the UK one because that's where I live. There we go. Okay, so that's lovely, perfectly good. What does it say this is? Yeah, various inputs of course. Output is 12 volts at up to 3 amps. Okay, excellent. So I'm a little disappointed to find in this day and age that we've got a very dense rubbery expanded polystyrene style insert in there. You know, why is that needed nowadays? We should know better by now. And here is the actual device itself. So I think probably the first thing I'll say about it is that when the box arrived I was stunned by how small it is, but having said that, it's big enough, and given the limited space that I have in my studio, that's probably a bonus. So we've got 4 cameras, some stuff to do with stills, black, cut, auto, fade to black, and yep, and obviously a whole bunch of controls that I know nothing about. There you go. Okay, so 2 mic inputs. And on the front there are on off for each microphone and volume control, so that'll be helpful if I do anything to do with interviewing anyone or anything like that, and again potentially in a live feed type situation. Not planning to do any of that at the moment, but who knows. The other thing I might be able to do with that is combine a couple of different microphones together to help prevent some of the things like fading out when I'm moving around the lab and things like that. We've got 4 HDMI inputs of course, and these are full-size HDMI plugs. We've got an HDMI output which in my case is probably going to go to a monitor rather than anything else. We've got a USB output, a network control and power. Okay, well I've got it all plugged in, so I've got it connected to my monitor, which is all I'm going to use for the moment. I won't try and actually capture this onto disk or something like that, or stream it or do anything complicated. I'm just going to leave it like that. And this is my main camera running at the moment. So this is in position 1, and I've got it showing at the moment the full program output as it would be recorded. Position 2 is my overhead camera, so literally on the ceiling above me, looking down, and this is what I would do for overhead view. Number 3 is connected to my microscope, and as you can see it's doing some quite nice little swipes between the different cameras. and number 4 was supposed to be connected to my oscilloscope. But unfortunately the little dongle thing, let me reach across here, unplug a couple of things, there we go. This little dongle, which is supposed to do the conversion from VGA to HDMI, appears to be doing absolutely nothing. So so this is quite nice. Another thing that I should be able to do with this is picture in picture, and there we go. Let me put it at the bottom because you might not be able to see that actually. There we go, bottom right down here. We've got our picture in picture working. It's quite small, but I might prefer it if it's about 50% bigger. I'll see if that's something that's changeable in the software driver when I try those out in a few minutes time. So the other thing, and which is probably what I will use most, is a different view. So we can see on the left we've got a preview. Now I would have thought we have to queue up a different camera on there, but again I haven't quite worked out how that really works yet. So that's great. So we've got a preview, we've got what's going out program wise on this right hand side. We've got all of our 4 cameras along the bottom so we can see what's going on. We've got media player 1, I haven't got a clue what that's about. We're currently turned off, we've got no data streaming, and we haven't got anything going into disk either at the moment. Over here we've got our different volumes. So we can see on the right hand side we've got camera 1 volume, and at the moment we've got a cut of 9 dBs on it so it doesn't overrange. So we've got volume control on all the HDMIs. So that should help me with my clipping problem that I have sometimes with these microphones. So that's absolutely great. If I really talk loudly, I'm just getting into the clipping region there. So yeah, I could stream from camera 1. Camera 2 is not streaming audio for some reason. I don't know why that is. It does have audio, so why it's not streaming it, I don't know. Camera 3 of course doesn't have any audio, so yeah, so that's our bar graph there, and because I've got camera 1 selected, that microphone is being output over here. With it, I've got the computer up and running again happily. Oh god, really? Bloody Microsoft. Right, there we go. Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, so I have logged into the website as instructed, and this is the page it brings us to with all the products in here. DaVinci, ATEM Mini Pro, that will be the one. So we'll download PDF. So getting started, yeah, plug it in. I've kind of figured that bit out. Switching your production, puts transitions. Yeah, this manual is made difficult because it's mixing lots of things up. So I'm reading more about the Extreme than I am about the Pro, which doesn't really help. And now it's just switching in software with no introduction to the software whatsoever. So you're not the best of manuals, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Okay, so I've downloaded the software, I installed that, and that seems to have gone okay after the restart. I've plugged in the USB to my computer. It has recognised it's a webcam. It's 1080p, so that's all right, but absolutely fine if you want to connect this to Skype or something along those lines. And you know, yeah, it does. Sorry, this has to go in the way. Just see if I can make a bit more real estate. There we go. So yeah, so when we can switch cameras and we can do all the things that we can do in the software that we can do on here. The other thing that we can do is we can preview and then transition as separate steps and then go back again if we want to. That's a little bit limiting. If I go to output, for example, over here, here's my live stream. That's fine. I can live stream to YouTube and various other places, and you need a key in order to do that. That's absolutely fine. So we're off at the moment. Here's our record stream, and it won't record, of course, and that's the same as the record button on the actual device itself. Here's our capture video. So this is where we'd expect to be able to just capture our video over the Ethernet connection. And to begin with, it said download Blackmagic something or other. Download Blackmagic video something. Which I did and installed, and now it's switched to requires Blackmagic Ultra Studio or Desk Link Card. I mean, really? I mean, clearly I don't have Blackmagic Ultra Studio. I mean, I can look and see. Is that a download? There we go, Blackmagic Ultra Studio Recorder, £122. Fantastic. So I will have a little look around and put a disc on the back of that. I'm you know, not overjoyed, to be perfectly honest. They've got this data streaming out of my USB. I mean, I could obviously capture video from here. That would be no real problem, but you know, it's a bit how you're doing. Yeah, so it's very disappointing that you can't actually capture video out of the software. I mean, that's pathetic, to be perfectly honest. And you know, and this is, we're only talking about capturing the actual same version as we've got on here on the webcam. Just let me do a quick capture on that, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, that'll do. Jeepers. So this should be, I think, a video. Okay, and that video works absolutely fine. So, you know, okay, you could just capture your webcam output, I suppose. Don't seem to have any noise with it. Okay, so fingers crossed this is working. So I've got this set up now with, here's my ATEM Mini Pro. I've connected it to a SanDisk disk drive, and it should be streaming to that at the moment. I've also got the network cable connected, and I've got the software running on the computer here, and so this offers a few more functions than the actual pad, but not that many more. And it is showing down in the bottom right hand corner here that we have recording in progress rather. So fingers crossed, all is well, and I'm recording at 1080p at 60 frames per second, for the hell of it, really. What else have I got here? So I've got 4 inputs plugged into the device. So the first one on the left is the camera view that you're looking at currently, which I've labelled main on here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit, and then we can perhaps see the screens a little better. Yeah, fingers crossed that's okay. So yeah, main on here. I've then got the second one is an overhead camera above my head, which is labelled overhead, so I can obviously switch to that. And we've got it programmed at the moment to do a sort of mix type slide. So happily we can see this quite easy. So yeah, mix is turned on here. If I turn on, for example, a left to right, and I go back to 1, then we get a slide effect as that happens. So I'm going to try, because of course I'm recording this onto the disk through the program output that you're going to see, I will try and keep things visible. I am recording on another camera at the moment so that if things get too complicated, I can always put a little inset. Okay, so top view, there we go. So view 3 is of the computer screen itself. And actually, if I transition to view 3, you should be able to see there is a slider bar. But view 1, thank you very much. There's a slider bar here that moves up and down. So, yeah, so that's quite nice. In fact, let me operate that with the mouse, and you should see it moving around. So there we go, we can slide. And of course, we have all of the controls on the screen that we would do. So we've got mix, dip, wipe, all of which are on the main panel itself. We've also got fade to black and things like that, which is over here. and we can set the rate, and we can do cuts instead of transitions, and yeah. Now there are a few more controls, so we can see what I'm doing here a bit. Just scroll out a little bit, there we go. So on the device, everything is a single step. So I press camera 2, I get camera 2, that's it. Press camera 1, I get camera 1. However, that isn't the case on here necessarily. I can do that, so the cameras are labelled main, overhead, computer, etc. So I can click on that on my screen, just here. Yep, and it switches immediately, just as it did from the board here. But I've also got this preview section down here, so I can click overhead. Now, on my monitor, I've got an overhead here showing me what it's going to look like when I do my transition. And over here is still what's being fed out. And that was slightly mind-boggling doing that with all my video streams all over the place. So yeah, so now if I click the auto button on here, it will do the transition for me. So there are other transitions, of course, available. So top to bottom, there's a soft left to right. We can obviously change the duration, and so all that's quite nice. So on camera 3, I've got set up my microscope. He says, no, I've got my computer set up on 3, and on 4 I've got my test gear, which in this case is a microscope. Try and get it together, Peter. Honestly, what are you playing at? So yeah, so we should now have my main camera as picture-in-picture. Now on this particular, the Mini Pro, you can only have channel 1 as your inset picture, unfortunately. So you have to choose that carefully. Yeah, we can choose whether we're going to keep that when we transition. So let's do a transition to main. So that's queued up, ready to go. You might just be able to see it in the picture-in-picture, but it'll be a bit tight. And I will tell it that I don't want it to transition key 1, when key 1 is the picture-in-picture 1. Of course, I can move that picture around. But I don't want to transition that, so that's fine. I'll hit auto, and there it is. That stays in place. Now we're back on the main screen. So let's turn the picture-in-picture off for a second. So that's all pretty good, I think, really. And the main functionality, of course, being the 4 buttons and the wipes and mix. So mix, if I choose mix as my effect. And it does remember a separate timing for each different effect. So if I switch back to swipe, I get 2 seconds. If I switch to mix, I get 1 second. So I'm going to make the mix a bit slower so we can see what's going on. And I will mix across to monitor to camera 3. So we see that's absolutely fine. That's working very nicely. So really happy with that. And actually, that's sort of the majority of what I will be doing, which is actually just switching between cameras. Okay, so what about the audio side of things? So this has 2 microphone inputs. It looks like it might be able to supply voltages on them, but I'm not sure about that. And we can obviously turn them on and off. So that's straightforward. And we can switch to an audio panel in the software as well. And so across here, left to right, we've got main, overhead, computer, gear, which are the labels I have set for camera 1, 2, 3 and 4. And they are replicated on this display down here. So I don't have to remember camera numbers and things. Now on here we can see that I have an equalizer set up. So there's a little slope on the screen. If I click on that, then we get the graphic equalizer for the input from camera 1. So this is the audio input that's coming over the HDMI cable from camera 1. And at the moment I have my microphone receiver set up on the camera, which is where it normally is. And the reason for that is I am simultaneously recording on the camera as well as outputting its output to the mixer switcher, I should call it, really. But yeah, I've got a 60 hertz cut on this, so hopefully that's giving me good audio. Let's close that down, and it's obviously turned on, and I can turn that microphone from that camera on and off just from this panel, and in fact all 4 panels have audio on, off and up down controls. And of course on the display here we can see the levels being displayed. Now because microphone 1 is on, it's being output into the main program, which is the level on the right hand side. So even if it weren't turned on, we would see some levels. So I'm just going to turn it off for just a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as we saw, I counted to 4 with it on, fine, turned it off, count to 4. This bar graph is still working, but it doesn't transfer across. So that's absolutely great. And of course, there's 6 audio channels in total if we have audio on all of the videos. But we don't. Now, despite the fact that I'm changing camera, the audio is still coming in from channel 1. So I'm on camera 2 now, but the audio is still actually coming in. You can hear me because channel 1 audio on that camera is still enabled. So the audio and the video are distinct from one another. Okay, absolutely lovely. So that's good. Pleased with that. Of course, I've got master volumes for their main output and things like that. Now, some of this is only adjustable on here on the screen. If you get the extreme, then a lot more of these controls are moved onto the panel itself. Okay, we've got media, so we can actually choose some files. So for example, pictures. Okay, so I've done a little bit of research and also made a small modification to the setup for the actual panel itself. So it turns out there's another software program that arrives with the software control, which is ATEM. Is it ATEM? ATEM? ATM? I don't know what it is. You know, go with it. Anyway, there's a program called Setup, which comes with this, which enables you to configure certain settings inside the hardware device. So I'm not sure if it shows up very clearly, but the 1 key is now green, the 2 key is now red, and that's because program 1 is on preview and program 2 is on standby. So if I switch to program 1, I actually have to now, when I press program 1, all it does is queues it up ready, and then I can do my cut or mix or whatever, and I get it on the main program. So that's absolutely great, and the one that I've just come from automatically goes into the preview in case I want to switch back again, which is super duper. So now we have this idea of queuing something up, previewing it before actually executing it out to the program in the same way that we could in the software. So I just wanted to cover that. The other thing that I've done with that is that picture-in-picture, top left, thank you, should now stay on even if I transition to a different view. So I've made that persistent, and there's a couple of other things that you can make persistent as well, but I think I've got it right now for me. Okay, let's move on and have a look at the media library then. So here it is. So we've got position to put stills. There is no position to drop in other types of media in here. On the left hand side there are some positions for just, you know, searching your disks and things like that. But so we can either search through this, but it does mean that your disks have to be mapped if you want to use like network resources, or you can drag and drop, and I'm going to do that, I think. So I got a picture of Valencia that I took on holiday. I've got a PNG called Paint Selection, and I'm just dropping these in. So Paint Selection is something that I created in Photoshop. It has it's a ping file, PNG, and it has a transparent background. Now what I'm going to do is, because I might want to do some other things in a moment or two, I will switch the computer so that it's not showing the main screen anymore. At the moment I've got two screens set up on my PC. Yeah, so I've got two screens set up on the PC, so, and they are mirroring each other. So screen 1 is the one that I actually see on my desk, and screen 2 is actually the ATEM Mini Pro. So yeah, so I can actually stop mirroring my main screen, and I can put a different screen onto the ATEM. So that will be quite useful when it comes to doing various things. So I'm going to do that now, and I will leave the main screen only available on this. Okay, and so if we look at this now, we can see that I'm no longer looking at what is on my screen there. Okay, so I've got a couple of media loaded up. I've got nothing assigned on the right hand side, and yeah, I'm going to just drag Valencia across to that side there. So yeah, so now I'm viewing the main camera. Hello. I've got a preview of the top down camera, and if we look down here, media player 1 is now queued up with a picture of Valencia, which is actually the one that I use for my camera screen as well. So let's put a swipe transition in, and we will go for still. So I've selected the still, that's highlighted in sort of a yellow colour now, and it's available in my preview. So yeah, so let's hit auto, and there we go. We get a sweep across to whatever I've got in the stills. So let's drop a different still on. Oops, and there we go. Immediately, that looks pretty messy. So yeah, so I can transition back to my desktop. We can see the still down here has changed instantly, and up here we are actually now looking at a very, very horrible rendition of my paint selection icon. So if I just switch that back to so still is there, we can go to auto, and we can do all the transitions that we would do between cameras. So there we go. Now, why is it all blocky? Well, the answer is because it contains transparency in the background and partial transparency as we slide into the red colours. And yeah, for actually displaying as a solid picture, it's filled in the background with white, and it doesn't really know what to do with the semi-transparent parts. So anyway, let's go back again. That will be a good thing. Let's go for the palettes. So you would think that we could just do some stuff with mix on this, but obviously we're just getting what we got before. So let's have a look at this. So we've got a downstream key, an upstream key, and so let's pick media player 1. So let's push that on air, and there we go. So we've got a fill source, which is media player 1, which is our nice pretty picture, and yeah, and that is going to overlay paint selection straight onto whatever I happen to have live at the moment. So let's do a, yeah, and it just stays there. So yep, so as well as the on air button, which is here, I've got an auto button. So press that, and we transition that media player view in and out. So that's kind of excellent, really, I suppose. So there we go. So anyway, there's a very simple idea of how the media player can hold an image with some transparency, and we can merge it in with the screen. And yeah, we can obviously still transition behind it, and we can transition or fade this on and off. Now I don't actually know what tie does, so it seems to have put it in the preview. Yep, and there we go. And now it previews across. So that's quite nice. So pattern is supposed to be fairly interesting. I just have no idea really how it works. So my understanding is, for example, though, that we can go for test gear. There we go. Test gear. Yeah, that's pretty good. So what we're doing now is we're just creating a key on the fly in the preview. Let's just transition that across so you can see that. That's pretty awful. And I'll change the background camera, I think, back to my... yeah, I'll change the background camera here so that we are able to see what I'm doing on both the preview and the other one. So there we go. So at the moment I've got it overlaid on the preview. I'm going to move it around a little bit more, I think, because yeah, there we go. So a couple of capacitors and a big capacitor down there. The size can be altered. So this can be used for example, bringing a different camera in. So if I change its source from test gear, for example, to computer, and then there we go. You can see a bit of Valencia appearing in the top corner. And yeah, we can do various different patterns with that. It does not have to be a circle. So there we go. Here's some Valencia, half and half, for example. I'll go back to the circle, I think. That'll do. Okay, so that's great. Yeah, I can move it around. So as you can see, it's just... So the first section was choosing what section I wanted to look at. And now I'm able to... I need to move it somewhere else, actually. Other way. So that we can see what we're doing. So the section up here chooses what section of that image I'm going to sample. The section down here chooses where I'm going to put it. The mask chooses what it's going to look like. So that's absolutely great. So I can put that straight into my picture wherever I want. So that could be, as I say, a live webcam feed or something like that. So all of this is a bit tricky to do. It involves pressing a lot of buttons and setting stuff up. And fingers crossed, this is where we should be able to record a macro. So macros. So here we go. I'm in the create page. So create. So round inset. That'll do. Round PIP. That would be better. So now apparently everything that I touch now control wise is gonna do stuff. So first of all, I'm just going to switch back to Chrome and then onto pattern so that it knows I've done pattern. I'm going to switch to computer as the source because that's what we would like. I'm going to click on the round button again, even though I clicked it before. I'm going to go into this percentage, into this one, so that we know what's going on. We'll do position as well. We'll select the flying key, each one of these values, and just press return so that it knows I've changed them. And that's it, is it? Yeah. And then we want to press key 1 to put it into the preview. Okay, and I think that's enough. Okay, and then we want to slide it in. And then we'll add a pause for, let's say, 5 seconds. And then I'm going to slide it out again. And stop it. So let's remove all these settings and see what we can do here. So just move on to Chroma or something like that, turn off key 1. Yeah, and what I should be able to do now is click the round pit button, and fingers crossed, if I got that right, then a little offset cutout of Valencia will appear in the top right hand corner, and stay there for 5 seconds and then go away again. Oh, hang on a minute, you've got to press the play button as well. There we go. Yeah! It wasn't the smoothest of transitions in and out, I've got to be honest. But maybe I should have used the auto button instead. But anyway, that demonstrates some of the upstream keying. So downstream keying would be slightly different. So we've still got our paint selection in there. So up here we've got our computer source. Down here we've got our, and down here we have our paint selection still in the media. So yeah, I can turn that on and off there. Fade it in, fade it out. Super. Bring it onto the preview on the left hand side, even though I'm still showing the inset, because one is in the upstream key and one is in the downstream key. So that's pretty neat. And now I can of course transition that across, and there we have it, paint selection. And so okay, so key 1 is clearly the upstream key, and on air is handling the downstream key. So cool, excellent. So let's fade that out, get rid of it. Excellent. Okay, well hopefully that has given some idea about the media section, and a little bit of a very messy view of some of the use of keys, and the keys of course can come in on the media. Now I did set aside the computer screen there and make it empty, and the reason is that I actually wanted to try something. I have a MP4 file which, as we can see, has some graphics on it. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to drop it onto my ATEM, whatever you call it. So I'm going to drop it on the output that goes to that. Now, this is not the best media player for this because I've got media player controls in the bottom and things. I need to find one that doesn't have that necessarily, but and I could play this. This is actually a PowerPoint file, so I could actually play it directly from PowerPoint, and I would lose all of this MPEG stuff. But this computer doesn't have PowerPoint on it, so I'm a bit limited. So so that's kind of all right, but it's not what I want at all. So I'm currently doing my front view, so let me go for front view on there, and we'll go to there, and I don't want my downstream key to be media player anymore. I'd like it to be the computer. I might have picked the wrong one there. Maybe I need Chroma. So I want computer. Chroma sample. We're going to take from up here somewhere where we know we've got a nice green piece. Yeah, we're going to preview that, and we can see the start of a little thing coming in on the left hand side there. So that looks like that is working. Excellent. Yeah, I got the wrong key in place. Okay, fingers crossed. So I need to also turn on the computer sound. Okay, let's give it a go. So I have queued up on my computer this show, which supposedly has a chroma keyed background. So I am going to transition across. Well, actually, you know what? I will leave this screen showing. That's fine. So we're ready to play the same screen. I've got this queued up. I have a transition which includes key 1, which is what I need. I can't see key 1 at the moment because hopefully it's green and is not showing, but you know, we'll find out in a moment. This is ready to play. So there we go. Got the play button ready. So cross fingers. Okay, so first of all, I want to make a low-cost prototype. So I don't want to be messing around buying lots of bits. I want all the bits to be in my parts bin. Next, I might want to actually create a kit from this. So I'm going to want through-hole parts. I want them all to be readily available. I don't want any shortages to hold things up. And finally, I might actually want to go ahead and produce some of these for sale. So I need to do SM. After that demonstrated some of the power that is available by using other computers to feed data, and there is some software that I've downloaded that will enable me to make ticker tapes, news ticker tapes to the bottom, feed in some feeds from things like chats, put in quick things, just little captions like who's speaking and that sort of thing. So and it uses the same technique. It uses the computer monitor with a chroma key on the background and just generates the output on the fly from software in the foreground. And of course you put animations in and all sorts of things, credits, rolling credits, you name it. Okay, so I couldn't leave without showing you one of the pieces of software that I was talking about. So this is a piece of software called H2R Graphics, and the idea is that you've got this queued up with various things saved in it. So I've got a lower third set up here, which just means something that appears across the bottom of the screen. Yeah, and this one is called Peter Engineer. Now over here I've got a chroma window turned on, so it's all preset. And if I press show, you can see that it comes up with Peter Engineer in the bottom left. And then after a few seconds that fades out, and we can change the settings further down the page. And we can use cascaded style sheets to make it all look pretty in various different ways, but that's fine for the moment. I'll go with that. This is just a quick demo. So I can take this screen here and I need to move it on to screen 2, maximize it and press F11 so that it becomes without a window. I think that is windowless, not 100% sure, but anyway. So let me just, so just down here at the moment, so if I just show that again, that's absolutely fine. So if I turn the key on and transition that, and then fingers crossed, if I press show, there we go. My main output now has the little lower third popping up, and I can easily create another one. Come on. There we go. So we're all set up, and we just click the button, and there we go. Easy peasy. Yeah. So the reason that I've got this showing across the bottom is because I have not succeeded in switching screen 2 to full screen. I've forgotten that on this keyboard I need to press function lock in order to use the function keys. So there we go. Yeah. So yeah, you do have to be a bit cautious using the second screen like that, because as you see, if you leave any debris around, from Windows, then that will feed through. But yeah, there you go, a nice lower third, easy peasy, and I can easily short that out if I need to and replace it with a different one. What else can I do? Let's have the current time of day. There we go. And of course, you know, we could alter that. We could make it transparent. We can move it around, bigger and smaller. So there we go, and we'll move it to the top of the screen there. Okay, should probably hide that. We put a logo in. I don't happen to have one available at the moment. I don't think. There is a little record that's appeared in the top right hand corner, which is the logo that they've pre-recorded. Put a message in there. There we go, so that's easy. Break enables us to have a spreadsheet linked in. I'm not going to mess around with that, it's far too much complexity. And of course, yeah, we can add an image in if we wish. But anyway, there we go. That hopefully gives a feel for how you can use a simple piece of software like HDR graphics to just feed things onto the screen as you wish. And you know, like all of this, yeah, I really do need to actually spend a bit of time getting used to it. But you know, this is day one with all of this stuff. So you know, I'm not unhappy with progress. In truth, I'm not going to use all of these features. I might well queue up some picture-in-picture type things that I'd like to do, particularly using that kind of round inset that we looked at earlier, where we can put an inset from one thing into another. That might be quite useful for when I'm using a microscope or soldering and things like that. And there is an issue, of course, which is that this means I need a computer running in order to use it. On the extreme version, let's just so I've got the Pro. On the extreme version, there are a lot more buttons. So first of all, there are more video channels, but there's also a set of buttons which can be mapped to the macros. So these macros over on the right hand side here can be mapped. The first 6 get mapped to buttons on the control. Now there are some external hardware devices you can get with buttons on. Stream Deck, that's one of them, which will work with the Mini Pro. So you have a computer in the middle, the Stream Deck's connected to the computer, and then it will read in all the macros that you've got, and it has a customizable set of buttons. Each button is a little LCD display, and so you can customize that to your own needs, and just hit the button when you need to do one of your pre-programmed transitions, play some media or whatever. Some people have created some interesting alternatives to that, hacking things around using add-on keypads and things. So I might have a little look at that, because that's quite a cheap solution. Blackmagic Design do make the SDK available for this. I've had a quick look at it. It comes with some sample programs. So actually wiring that up to Lenovo Yoga, which kind of folds over and just becomes a touchpad, touch sensitive screen, and it will be relatively easy to program a selection of buttons on there that can read all your macros out of here, and let you just hit a button on the touch screen and run a macro with all of this stuff gone. And that would mean you could run the same sort of software on there to do things like playing the lower thirds, because I don't really want to be using my main desktop computer for that. I want to be using that for doing my engineering related stuff, and connecting to test equipment and running code and things like that. And truthfully, this is not a very powerful computer. It's pretty old. So in conclusion, I'm pretty happy. Clearly, I've just pulled the camera back so you can see the desk. It's quite a mess, quite a lot of stuff. So I'm going to move everything across to the left hand side, and that should make a bit more space for me. I'm going to run the computer side of this from a little Lenovo Yoga, which is only about sort of 10.5 inches across, something like that. because I need my main computer for the actual work that I do. It's pretty capable just as a standalone device, cutting between cameras and things like that, and that's 90% of what I need from it. But the ability to layer over some PDFs and things like that would be really handy. And it should speed up my production quite a lot by giving me more of a natural flow to everything and reducing my post editing. I use it mainly for recording video, but if you're using this for streaming, I can see how really helpful it would be. Although you might want to put an ad on it to run your macros more easily. So anyway, hopefully I've shown enough that you've got a really good feel for what this is like and how much you can learn in about one day only. If you've enjoyed it, please give this a thumbs up. Please subscribe. So I think that's about it. I'll see you next time. Take care.